Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Officers initiated a traffic stop in Harris County, Texas for a vehicle having a fictitious plate bearing the word traveler on it. During the stop, the defendant refused to provide identification or insurance information, stating, "I do not consent to any of this." Officers attempted to remove the defendant from the vehicle, and the defendant actively resisted until he was detained.
That's very conclusory. Actively, what did you say?
Actively resisted.
Okay, I need more than that. Give me more, Alice.
So I reviewed the body cam this morning from the officer who initiated the traffic stop. The defendant.
No. You can't do that. No. It has to be in the report. In the DIMS, he has to say more than just a conclusory statement about what happened.
In the DIMS, it states that the officer attempted to pull the defendant out of the vehicle with him actively resisting and pulling away from the officer and other deputies. And the defendant continued by turtling his arms as they got him to the ground.
All right. Better. But
Yes, sir.
you telling me that he actively, it's a conclusory statement and we need more, right? It's like saying, okay, he was speeding. Really? How fast?
Yes, Judge.
So that's why conclusory statements don't fly, but that's enough. Okay, Mr. Daly.
Sir.
I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. Do you have a Texas driver license? Can you run his license, please, guys?
He's eligible, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have liability insurance in your name?
That's right.
And you can't drive. Once you get insurance, I will happily allow you to drive. It's all I'm doing is trying to protect the public and trying to protect you in the event that you get into an accident. They don't care whether you're traveling, whether you're whatever, however you want to term it. If you get into an accident and you do some catastrophic damage, they're going to come after you. They're going to sue you, try to take you for everything you got. And that's why for $50 a month, you pay for someone to represent you in the event that you do get an accident. And depending on how much you pay, you're covered $50,000, $150,000. So all I'm asking you to do is follow the law. I'm not going to put any other conditions on you.
In a packed courtroom buzzing with the low hum of spectators, clerks shuffling papers, and the faint echo of footsteps disappearing down polished hallways, the morning sun filtered through the tall glass panels behind the judge's bench, casting long, sharp beams across the wooden floor as the presiding judge, an older, stern-faced man known for an unwavering disciplinary style and an almost legendary patience, prepared himself for another long docket of cases, completely unaware that today would test the very edge of that famous patience, beginning the moment the bailiff called the next case and a man in bright, boldly mismatched attire stepped forward with the swagger of someone entering a stage rather than a courtroom, a man who claimed to be a sovereign citizen, a term the judge had heard far too many times in his long career, almost always followed by headaches, shouting matches, and bizarre legal proclamations disconnected from reality. And yet, despite years of experience, nothing quite prepared him for the unexpected emotional explosion about to unfold, because as the man took his seat, crossing his arms defiantly while offering the judge a stare so direct it felt almost like a dare, the atmosphere shifted quickly from routine to tense, the once calm room tightening with a palpable energy that made every spectator lean forward, sensing that something big was coming. And as the judge cleared his throat and began with his standard formal introduction, "Court is now in session, and the defendant is advised to cooperate and respond clearly," the man wasted no time interrupting, suddenly barking out, "I am not the defendant, I am a free traveler, a living soul, not under your authority," triggering a ripple of murmurs across the courtroom, and though the judge tried, with admirable restraint, to maintain composure by adjusting his glasses and responding in an even voice, "Sir, please refrain from interrupting. Your legal status is recognized by the court's jurisdiction," the sovereign citizen only escalated, slamming his hand on the table so loudly that even the court reporter flinched, shouting, "You have no jurisdiction over me. I do not consent to these proceedings. You are violating my rights, and this entire courtroom is operating under maritime law, which is illegal," a nonsensical accusation that the judge had heard dozens of times but never with this level of intensity. And as the judge attempted to speak, the man cut him off again with, "Don't speak over me. You work for me. You are a public servant, and I demand you obey my orders." Which, at last, cracked the judge's calm demeanor, prompting him to lean forward in disbelief as the courtroom collectively gasped, for even the most disruptive defendants typically avoided directly insulting the judge, but this man seemed determined to push every boundary imaginable, and with a look that blended shock, frustration, and a flare of anger he struggled to contain, the judge's voice grew sharper. Sir, you will not address the court in that manner. You are required to follow courtroom protocol, and if you continue to disrespect these proceedings, you will be held in contempt. Yet the man only smirked, shaking his head in exaggerated slow motion as though he found the judge's warning amusing, then leaned toward the camera on his video monitor and said, "Contempt. You're already in contempt of the Constitution. You're a fraud wearing a costume pretending to have power." And that final remark was the one that snapped something in the judge, the pressure that had been simmering for minutes finally erupting as he slammed his palm on the bench and burst out with a raised voice that echoed off the walls, "That is enough. You will not insult this court, you will not insult these proceedings, and you will not challenge my authority here. This is a lawful courtroom, and you will conduct yourself appropriately or face immediate consequences." Sending shockwaves across the audience as people exchanged wide-eyed looks, some covering their mouths in disbelief, while the sovereign citizen only leaned back casually like he had achieved exactly the reaction he wanted, smirking as though victory were his, prompting the judge to take a deep breath, visibly trying to calm the rage that had erupted but still breathing heavily from the emotional eruption. And as the court clerk looked nervously between the two men, the bailiff subtly stepped closer, sensing the situation could escalate further, the tension thick enough to feel like a storm cloud hovering over the entire room. Yet instead of backing down, the sovereign citizen leaned forward again and muttered under his breath, loud enough for all to hear, "You just proved you're unfit to sit on that throne." And with that, the judge, still flushed from anger, clenched his jaw and said, "Bailiff, if he speaks again out of turn, he will be removed from this courtroom," causing the room to ripple with anticipation as everyone wondered whether the man would finally stop. But of course he didn't, because the moment the judge turned a page in the file and attempted to proceed, the sovereign citizen blurted out, "I demand the judge's oath of office. Show me your credentials. If you can't, this court is dissolved, and you're committing treason." Sending the judge into another visible moment of disbelief so strong he momentarily forgot the legal notes in front of him, instead staring directly at the man as though genuinely questioning whether he was being pranked or provoked for sport. And after a long silence filled only by the quiet scratching of the court reporter catching every chaotic moment, the judge finally said in a calm but deadly firm voice, "Sir, I am warning you for the last time. Any further disruption will result in immediate contempt charges, incarceration, and removal from this courtroom. This is not a debate, not a negotiation, and not a platform for your personal theories." But the man, eyes widening theatrically, threw his hands up and said, "You just threatened me again. I am the victim here. This is harassment. I do not recognize you as a judge, and I do not stand under your authority." To which the judge snapped again, louder than before, "You do stand under this court's authority. This is not an opinion, it is the law, and your refusal to accept reality does not change it." And at this second explosion, the spectators recoiled once more, whispers flooding the room as some debated whether they had ever seen a judge lose composure this dramatically, while others whispered that the sovereign citizen had crossed every line imaginable. And still the man persisted, mocking the judge with a slow clap and saying, "Bravo, Your Honor. Must be tough when someone actually challenges your fake power," causing the judge to slam his gavel with such force that one of the pens on his desk rolled off the side, the crack of wood echoing like thunder as he barked, "I am ordering you into custody for contempt. Bailiff, take him now." Which sent the room into uproar as the bailiff moved quickly, placing a hand on the man's shoulder, but the sovereign citizen erupted into another loud string of protests, "You can't touch me. I don't consent. You're violating my sovereignty," drawing every eye in the courtroom as he resisted being escorted out, while the judge rubbed his temples, exhausted and furious, muttering to himself about the absurdity of the situation. And as the bailiff finally restrained the man and began to guide him toward the exit, the man twisted around one last time, shouting, "This entire proceeding is illegitimate. I will sue all of you." Before vanishing through the side door, the heavy thud of it closing behind him marking the end of the chaos, leaving behind a courtroom filled with stunned silence as the judge exhaled deeply, visibly shaken, adjusting his robe and glasses in an attempt to restore a sense of order and professionalism after the emotional roller coaster. And when he finally spoke again, to the court clerk, To the spectators, to no one in particular, his voice was quieter, steadier, but still worn with fatigue as he said, "Let the record reflect that the defendant has been removed for repeated disruptions and contemptuous conduct. Proceed with the next case," and though he attempted to sound neutral, everyone watching could sense he was still burning inside from the sheer intensity of the confrontation, a dramatic moment that would undoubtedly be retold by everyone present for years, with each retelling adding to the legend of the day the judge snapped after being insulted by a sovereign citizen who seemed determined to transform a simple hearing into a theatrical battle of authority, ego, ideology, and frustration, a moment etched permanently into the memory of all who witnessed it, including the court staff who whispered about it long after, the spectators who shared the story with friends, and the judge himself, who later sat alone in his chambers reflecting on the strange collision between law and delusion that had unfolded in such spectacular fashion, wondering whether the justice system could ever fully prepare anyone for encounters like these, where logic battled fantasy, patience battled provocation, and professionalism clashed with chaos. Yet despite the intensity of the event, the courtroom eventually returned to order, the next cases proceeding quietly, though an undeniable tension lingered in the air like smoke after a fire, leaving everyone aware that they had witnessed something unusually explosive, chaotic, and unforgettable, a clash that revealed just how fragile a judge's composure can become when pushed to the edge by someone utterly determined to provoke a reaction. And though the day eventually ended, the story of the judge snapping at the sovereign citizen would live on, retold again and again until it became something akin to courtroom folklore, a testament to the unpredictable nature of human behavior inside the solemn walls of justice, where anything, absolutely anything, can happen.